Good morning, Rene Gonzalez. Another Captain Rabbit shrimp story. This morning I want to talk about a time that we were on the Captain Rabbit, me and my son Rene, and I think a nephew of ours, old Lando Rodriguez. Lando, he was with me on that boat. I couldn't remember who it was, and finally me and Irene talked about it, and she was telling me that's the time that my Lando was with us and on that boat. But that time we were dragging offshore. There's a place straight offshore the bar right here that I'm gonna kind of get away of explaining where I was gonna be at because one of my secret spots. But it's straight offshore out there. But anyway, it's a dragging bottom that I like to daytime shrimp. And that's an area that I always work it, and I always go there and check it out. I always have to go check it out, see what's going on, because you never know when you go over there and check it out, and it's full of shrimp, big shrimp. And I'm talking about offshore out there, and sometimes it's gets pretty when you can keep dragging early in the morning, and you keep dragging, and big shrimp showing up, and you keep marking them daytime and get a good daytime drags. So we were working there and on the Conejo, on the Captain Rabbit, and we were clocking. I guess we were getting about 300-pound drags, about 7, 8 hour drags, and on that area. But it got rough on it. Southeastern moved in. Those Southeasterns, man, they get pretty ferocious because they come from offshore, the seas. They're coming from offshore, so they get bigger. And man, the thing about that Captain Rabbit that those fuel tanks were always at a they're dirty, you know. It get too rough, the boat starts rocking too bad, and the fuel lines will plug up and starts problems, turn the engines off and all that kind of stuff. So that's what happened to us that night. We had just gotten dark. Everybody had already eaten supper and laying down and stuff, and uh, all of a sudden the engine turned off. It got rough though, but we were looking at already at that time. We were fighting, I guess, about 10-foot seas or 15-foot seas, and it was kind of rolling. You know those wooden hulls. There are corks up on top of the water, so they roll pretty good. Uh, but anyway, and the engine turned off, and the generator turned off, and with those kind of seas, the the sea will catch you, the current will catch you quick, and with the cable down under the boat, and that's a wooden hull. So I didn't know what to do. It was too rough, so I decided to drop the anchor. Drop the anchor before going to. I had to go downstairs and go break loose that fuel line down there on the main fuel tank to unplug that fuel line and get some flow and recrank that engine. But I didn't. I went ahead and dropped the anchor so the seas wouldn't be dragging down seas like that with a cable on the bottom of the boat. I didn't like it. It would gut through the wood or something, you know. So I didn't. So I decided to drop the anchor. And while I was downstairs, after I dropped the anchor, uh, I was downstairs clearing out that fuel line and all that, and tried to bleed that engine. And I was just finishing coming up the engine room when I had already started the engine and coming out of the engine room when all of a sudden, uh, you know, the outriggers, you got your outriggers and they're out there, and you got a stay wire that goes to the back of the boom, and that's what holds the outrigger back. Uh, well, all of a sudden the damn stay wire broke, and that that one side, that outrigger swung all the way around in front of the cabin, man. And I got lucky where that outrigger swung and hit the cabin, the side of the cabin, and landed on the rail of the boat. Man, I got lucky, and I hollered at Rene and Lando and tell them, hey, we gotta tie it, we gotta tie it. Don't let it fall off. And no, we ain't gonna go out there. We're all scared of that outrigger. They thought it was loose. So I went out there and found me some chain and started tying that outrigger down where it won't fall off of where it was sitting, because I didn't want it to fall on the side of the boat where it start beating on the boat. But what caused that was when I was on anchor and the high seas were dragging the anchor and the cable going forward and started pulling forward, and that's what gave that backstay wire on that one side of that outrigger. And boy, that scared the shit out of those boys. But anyway, I had to let go of the rigs. I turned all the cables loose off the winch, turned it loose, and dropped the cables, let it go, and I got the readings right there. And we started picking up the anchor and went into Aransas. Those boys were all scared of what was going on, but the boat was all listed with one outrigger down, the other one on the side, on the side of the cabin there. But at that time, but anyway, we went into to Aransas to get that outrigger, because you know that outrigger, it sits on that boom, and when it bend it forward, it bend it that where the high outrigger sits, it bend it. So I had to we had to pull that outrigger off, pull it off the boat, put it on land, and get a welder to come cut that and re-splice a new pipe on there. That was old Ted, the guy from Aransas there. He did a lot of work for us all the time. There was a lot of them. Oh, James Soto back in the day, and those were favorite guys for welders around Aransas Pass in the harbor there. Those were experienced people with working with winches or anything, the engine, relining the engine, all that kind of stuff. Those are the guys that did that kind of work. But anyway, and Ted is the one that fixed that outrigger. It took about, say, 4 days to finish that outrigger, and we put it back on and got ready to go out there. Me and Rene, it was me and Rene. I don't remember. Yeah, I guess Lando went back out with us again. And but the deal about it was, I went to go out there to fish, look for the rig that I had dropped, and and so we went out there. When I went out there, I was using the Trinet cable, the Trinet winch, and I took the Trinet off, and I put a big old steel goffling hook. It's a big old steel gobbling hook. It's a special one that you put a V on there where you drag it and you catch that cable, it'll bite that cable and pick it up, you know. And but anyway, I got lucky, man. The first strike that we put that cable down was a gobbling hook, and we drug through the reading that I had, and the first strike I caught it. We caught the rig, and we got lucky where it got caught by where I picked up the rig, one of the rigs itself, and so I was able to bite everything. You know, that's the way you do it. You gotta bite the whole thing and put everything on deck, man. Both rigs and all that main cable and bridles and all that. It's a big old mess. But we finally loaded everything up on the boat and went back in. Me and Rene, my son Rene. But I wanted to talk about a story about this story right here when that happened offshore out here. Uh, but that outrigger going forward on us like that and scaring these guys. But it took us about 2 days to clear everything. You gotta disconnect the rigs and clear out all the cables, all tangled up, and the bridles, the main cable, and put everything on its place, man, and reset up everything. So we went back shrimping out there, but we were doing good out there, man. Shit, that's a good little area out there. Later on, I'm gonna make a book that'll say those bottoms, those secret bottoms that I have, and a lot of people know them, man. The old shrimpers, they know those bottoms, and I always seen old Ramon Garcia out there working that area whenever I'm working that area, and he's offshore of me a little bit more, but anyway, but it's the same areas. But and that's why I wanted to make this one here about the Captain Rabbit. So good morning. Hope you enjoyed it.